with Take Your Life Back.
And this is Coach Leanne with Grit and Grace. Tonight we are talking about non-negotiables and how the world has changed and how your non-negotiables have changed. Last week when we were here, we talked to Jen about going back to the workplace and the delight that that happened to be. Now, she was only there for a week because her boss was in town, but that opens up some really interesting conversations about what your negotiables are and what your non-negotiables are. So Jen, tell us, how has last week's experience, well, tell me about your productivity being at home the last 18 months versus last week. Tell me about your productivity and tell me what has become a non-negotiable when it comes to work environment.
So I have to say, so last week I went back in the office for just for the week, and my perception is that I was less productive. And I'm basing that on several things. There were more interruptions in my mind, right? Because there were more people there. A little bit of it was because my team hasn't physically seen each other in a while. There's a little bit of catch up, that's to be understood. But then there was also a lot of, I felt like there was a lot of wasted time for just like little things like, in between conference calls when I wanted a snack or whatever, I have to go out of my suite, go down a pretty long hall into a different suite to get to an ice machine and a kitchen with a fridge or anything like that. And then prepare everything, carry it all back. And I have to go through several secured doors and like swipe my badge to get through. Yeah. So when I say I need to go fill up my water bottle with some ice and some water, and I drink a gallon of water a day, like this is a chore. This isn't me just, going from my home office into the kitchen. And no, this is like I'm going through several doors. And then I've just got to figure out how can I carry whatever I have through all the secure doors, swipe my badge, get back into my office, right? And this is constant. This is to use the restroom. It's stupid. It's just stupid. And so
I'll tell you how I used to open the badge doors. I had that baby on my hip and I just whacked my hip and in I went. But that's just me. I have attitude.
I'm only 5'2.5", so my hip isn't high enough. I have to I guess I could jump but yeah, so it was just, I don't know. To me, there was all those little things where it was I felt less productive, just based on interruptions and people being there, and then every time where I would have, so the boss, well, not just the boss, me too. I do leave my office door open. I want to be approachable, but there's also a lot of conversations that I'm having with various teams or clients or whatever, where I need to shut the door.
Yeah.
And so there's all of that where I'm up and down and I've got please hold. I need to shut my office door for this conversation. They're gonna, okay, now I'm back. Just all these little nuances that you kind of forgot about until you're in the office. And it's just things that I don't even have to deal with being from home. So in my mind, I was not as productive. Then it really got me to evaluate, so what are some of my non-negotiables? The other thing, first of all, eating in any kind of really healthy way, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it is a lot more work being in the office to maintain the way I eat, my meals, my snacks, it's just a lot more work. It is not impossible. I did it for a while, and I did it again last week. It is a lot more work. The other piece of that, being able to either appropriately take my break or leave the office in time to make it to gym time, that much more difficult. Because it's really easy for me to be at home on my computer. I change my status to away and I walk out the door. And when you're in person and there's people right outside your office and you're like, I gotta go, like it's all these things. And those are some of my non-negotiables. Like my health is not negotiable. It's not. At one point in time it was, oh well, if I stay late and I work another 30 minutes because somebody stops me in the hall on my way out, that's okay. That's no, that no. No. Um, and then that became something that's non-negotiable. And then there's just things with regards to your own mental health, a real work-life balance of being with your family or having things around you. So, like when I'm at work, we have several people with severe allergies. You cannot wear any kind of scented lotion. You cannot have lotion in the office. You cannot can't cook certain foods. You can't have certain foods. You like it's because we've got so many people to accommodate, and it's very difficult to accommodate those people. And I want to be sensitive to what they need. Obviously, I'm not a total jerk, but it sucks to be you that you're allergic to peanuts. I'm not.
Yeah, go away.
I'm sorry you have an extreme sensitivity, but burning my scented candle in the morning while I drink my coffee gets me into a different mindset and prepares me for my day. And I enjoy that work-life balance. So it's made me consider, so what are my non-negotiables? Is that, am I getting more time with family? Am I willing to negotiate that now the way that I used to? Because I've now seen in the last 18 months, it is absolutely possible to do my job remotely and still incorporate family time, gym time, and everything else without having to make sacrifices. So it's just, 2020 made everybody take pause. And now that there's discussions about going back to the office, everybody's saying, what are my negotiables and what are my non-negotiables?
Yeah, I actually found that to be true. I have access to, I find clients on Facebook and I find clients on LinkedIn. And the thing that I am finding is that in some of these groups with professional women, they are starting to realize that they have had, it's not been the life of Riley, but the fact of the matter is when they can save 2 hours a day commuting,
Oh, that too.
that's huge. And they are home with their children and they are more aware and in touch with the things that are going on in their children's lives, in their spouses' lives. Sorry if you're running around on your spouse, sucks to be you. But I know I had to go there. It's been a long day. So what I've realized and what I'm reading and seeing is that people are really taking this, they are not taking this going back into an office thing lying down. And that brings us to what I have been hearing from my HR friends and my headhunter friends as the great resignation. People just don't want to work in an environment where they are expected to be there 9 to 5 or whatever, have no flexibility, everything's rigid. it's almost like we all turned into millennials overnight because that is how a millennial wants to work. They want to work flexible hours. Look, if if I'm up and working at 6 a.m. to 8 and I want to go to the gym 8 to 10, who cares? Did I miss something? Is there something that is immediate that I need to take responsibility for? Don't know, but at the same time, they're just not willing they're not willing to trade money for time in the way that we had in 2019.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that more and more, especially with the women that I interact with, and even some of the men that I interact with, they're just like, yeah, no, we're not doing this. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And my husband, bless his heart, he hates to drive. Like, we go to the store, I drive. We go on a 2-week vacation, this girl's driving most of the time.
Well, that's funny.
So he is thrilled that he doesn't have to put on work shoes. He runs around the house in socked feet and goes outside and gets the mail in the socks. I'm constantly buying socks for this man, but he is so thrilled that he doesn't have to go anywhere except down the hallway from the bedroom to work. And
Yeah.
because his function at his company has been put on the permanently home list. I don't know whatever they call it. He's thrilled. He and his team is all over the place, and he just is thrilled. But what they have learned at his company anyway is that unless you're directly serving customers, you don't need to be anywhere but home.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting transition, I think. And I think as we get closer to the school year starting, we will find out just how much those non-negotiables will stick.
Yeah, for sure. The commute, and I kind of forgot about that, but yeah, I had an extra hour. It's 30 minutes to work and then 30 minutes home. I had an extra hour that I had to accommodate into my day last week. And then of course the prep time to track everything in and out of the office. That was another thing. It was very frustrating. And that was where I feel like we were told for years, some corporate America told us what life work balance was. And they sold it to us in the format of vacation time, 2 weeks a year, PTO, whatever you wanted to call it, right? That's how they sold it to us. You do have a work-life balance, you get vacation. But that's not a work-life balance. I used to see so many of my friends, and I even had to do it for a long time when my child was younger, that you end up having to use that vacation time for all the doctor's appointments, the dentist appointments, the eye appointments, all these things that you end up having to use your vacation time for, and then you don't actually get a vacation.
Right.
You're basically punished. You're punished for trying to keep your child healthy.
Yes.
That's not work-life balance at all. And I think that people have now figured out what work-life balance really could look like and or is, or they've been lucky enough to be experiencing it over the last several months. And they're like, yeah, no, I'm no longer willing to commute for 2 hours out of the day. And on top of that, again, man, then you add in the commute. Let's talk about, so then you got to add in the commute to work. And then if you do have an appointment that you need to catch, then that's just added. It's brutal. And I think that's what it's allowed for, is the opportunity for people to review the work-life balance, their non-negotiables, And for some parents, it's been an opportunity and an eye-opening into how their children are also being educated or
Yes.
not, or
Yeah.
not.
Yes.
And so then having the, so now then the question becomes of, do I want to work in how to make sure that my child's being educated the way I feel is best for them or the way that they need, and how do I incorporate that into my work day also? And for some people that's going to mean that there is they are part of this great resignation because they're realizing what they can live without.
Yeah. Yes. And they are also, I think they're also realizing, um, before we went on air, we talked about Loudoun County, Virginia. Every time there's a school board meeting in Loudoun County, Virginia, I swear to God, it makes the news because it seems like these folks are just, they've had it. They've had enough and they're not putting up with it anymore. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of those parents who have been home because they have government jobs and they had entrusted their children's education to the school district and the school board, they're like, yeah, no, not, y'all blew it.
Yeah.
And so, um, I find it to be very interesting. I mean, you heard stories in the last 18 months of, a child with an American flag or Trump flag or whatever behind them, and the teacher stopping the class until the kid took it down. Who the hell is that teacher to tell that kid to remove private property in someone else's home because they're doing a Zoom call? So I think a lot of parents are fed up and they realize maybe that they cannot quit their job. Hopefully there's more flexibility, but I do see that going forward with this great resignation, people are just, they're just not going to, they're mad as hell and they're not going to take it anymore.
Yeah.
And that is kind of revealing as where we have gone and how far the society has kind of decayed, especially in the last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually have some friends who have opted to now homeschool this next year because they're just like, I think I can do a better job with them staying at home. I mean, I know one family in particular, she was like, the beauty of being at school remote is that when we have a lesson in school that we're discussing and I realize that I can put it live into action, she's like, I pack up the kids and we go put it live into action. I don't have to worry about, well, is this during school hours or she's like, no, we go and we actually do and we actually explore and we create live time on our schedule. And it's those experiences that really you know create that well-rounded individual that isn't just I think we used to refer to it as, oh, you're book smart. um we don't want kids that are just book smart. I mean, yeah, you can sit at home and only have your nose in the book, but you've got to be able to think. You've got to be able to critically think. We want people who can think for themselves and put things into action. And if we're going to ask that of our workforce, then we can't put our kids into school and only have this, here's the box you fit into and this is it. And I think a lot of parents during this last year had the opportunity to see, hey, my kid's kind of being put into a box.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even necessarily a box that's good for them. And it's not necessarily a box that I want. It's whatever that teacher's box is or that school district's box is. And I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the funny thing, what I found funny when a friend of mine was was doing the homeschool thing with their child is the amount of time that you are required to homeschool your kid. So, right, it's minuscule compared to what in the hell are they doing for 6-8 hours a day? That's what I want to know. I mean,
practicing tests.
yeah, what? Yeah, bleh. No. See, and when a kindergartner is what, 30 minutes? 30 minutes for a kindergartner's class. That's it. A second grader is like an hour, if that. And when you look at that and you break down that time, it is very possible for elementary school kids anyway to be homeschooled while you are working a full-time job. I
So
mean,
many parents,
lay them out
they
on
just did it.
Yeah. And they had to do it
Mhm.
because there's so many creepers and whatever on the internet. And remember back when we first started doing the Zoom calls as the norm, you would have all these creeps busted.
We had a bad one.
So yeah, we had some dude who was naked and jumping in there. It's like,
so bad.
Awesome. You don't have anything to shake and you really shouldn't be proud of it. So move on. Bless his heart. He jumped in with a bunch of women who told him just exactly what he was doing. As the one in charge was going, get off, get off.
It was like frantic.
Right? But so you had all those creepers. So you couldn't just let the kids go and be in their room. You wanted those kids out with everybody. And at that point in time, whenever all this first started, parents didn't really nobody really had an office. Nothing was really set up. I mean, I remember when Eric came home, he had, the first day he was home, we went to Target and we bought a folding table, which is what he's using to this day because he was only going to be home for a couple weeks.
Right.
And then we had to buy a chair, and then we bought, floor mat, and all this stuff accumulated over time. We had an old monitor in my office upstairs. He took that out and he's using that. It was only going to be for a couple of weeks. Now,
right,
it's going to be forever. So I think that the transition from in-person school to online school, parents got a real eyeful of what was going on. And now they're seeing, Timmy can't do math, can't do simple addition, he can't do simple subtraction because the teacher is not simply not teaching him.
Or they're teaching it with a methodology that is just, oh my God, ridiculous.
Yeah. I have a master's degree in engineering, y'all. And if I can't understand how to do the math the way they're teaching it,
it's stupid.
It's stupid.
Oh God.
Yeah. People with advanced degrees should be able to do their third graders math. And they can't.
You can't.
Not the way the schools teach them. Why don't you just do 5 plus 3? 5, 6, 7, 8. See, 5 plus 3. No, teacher says you got to draw it out. I'm like, okay.
Right. Well, and we were told that part of that is to teach them to critically think through, well, okay, what makes up 8? Is it, how many sets of 4 equals 8, or a set of 5 and a set of 3, and I'm like, yeah, I still learned that. I still learned all those things, but I also just learned 1 + 1 = 2. I don't need to draw that out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, kids going home in tantrums and whatever. And so then the world shut down. And then the parents sitting at the dining room table with the kids during the school day and they're like, this is dumb. We're not doing this anymore.
Yeah. No, there were some folks that I think where it really became difficult. Some of the kids struggled because they did need the social networking to continue occurring, which I think is absolutely understandable.
Absolutely.
But I also think some parents learned that that social network doesn't have to occur in the school setting.
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah,
it's,
absolutely.
yeah, it's been very interesting to watch everything continue to unfold now that we've gone in this extended period of time and people are being asked, schools are opening back up and workplaces are asking employees to come back into the office. And everybody has just had this opportunity to evaluate what matters and what doesn't. Um, and it just really begs for me, what are your non-negotiables? And I think we're starting to see that play out.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think for mothers, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you are a mother and you did deal with this for the last 18 months as a single parent, stay at home with kid, blah blah, working, da 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 da. Now your kid was a senior, half a
Right.
junior, half a senior, but I wonder, does it alleviate some mom guilt for you to be around more at home?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he flat out said, he started offering to do more things for his schooling over this last year. And I was like, what are you doing? You've never done any of these things before. And he flat out said to me, you seem to be more available for me now. And oh my God. I mean, he was right. But how terrible that I didn't get to experience this until his senior year.
Yeah,
You know,
because you were driving and yeah, you weren't
I
around.
was working. I was working the work-life balance that I was being sold.
Yes. And I wonder going forward if the work-life balance thing, they're going to have to do something. You're going to have to do better than that. Like I said, I don't know if I said it in this broadcast, we all became millennials when the world shut down. Millennials have been criticized for wanting to do things differently. They don't want to work 9 to 5. They want to work on their own schedule. I must have just said this not too long ago. They want to work on their own schedules. And I think they're onto something,
Yeah.
And I think that the older people in the workforce, up near late 50s, 60s, that retirement, that senioritis, retirement gliding age, the ROAD age, retired on active duty, they're either going to have to get over it or they're either going to have to get over it or retire early, because the generation coming up after us, Gen X's, is bigger than the boomers that are ahead of us, that are sitting there putting their feet in the sand going, I don't want to stay home. Well, suck it up, buttercup, because the generations coming up behind us, these companies have to learn how to negotiate that. And I don't know that this could have come at a better time, with the millennials hitting like mid-30s and really kind of hitting their career stride.
Yes.
I think this has come at a good time.
Seriously. And we have the technology. That was the other thing was, we got halfway into the school year and my son was able to go back in person for a period of time, certain hours of the day, whatever. It meant that I had to go pick him up. There was no after school activities for a long time, but so he could be at school certain number of hours. I don't remember. It changed. I promise every 2 months the rules changed. So please forgive me if I'm not stating the rules right because I can't remember what we did when. But the part I do know was that I always had to go pick him up at 3 o'clock. He couldn't just stay after school and hang out or anything like that. And so I would just tell my teammates, hey, at 3 o'clock, I have to go pick up my son. And there was a few times where people were like, well, oh, so you're just unavailable at 3? And I'm like, well, technically, no. I have the Teams app on my phone, which is hooked to my Bluetooth on my car. Feel free to call me. And there was many times they did. And I could drive. I was like, I have a 30-minute drive to get my son and 30 minutes back. So I was using my lunch hour at 3 o'clock. But there were many times they called me. I was like, you guys, we have the tools to do our jobs from anywhere at any time. It's how you choose to use them. But also, do you absolutely have to have me at 3 o'clock? Can it wait till 4?
Right. 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 And you're right. Everyone has the tools. Everyone has one of these.
Yeah. With
The
the
future is
internet
now.
and oh yeah. There's just no reason. I think that we have not in corporate America used all the tools that we can in the ways that we can because we've known no other way until we
Oh,
were forced into it.
the death of the world. This is the way we've always done it. That makes me nuts.
Right.
Nuts. But if this is the way that we've always done it, why can't we try something new?
Yeah. It's just like the 8-hour workday. How was that invented? That was not invented because they determined 8 hours was the most productive time frame for employees. That the 40-hour work week has nothing to do with productivity.
No, that was all union negotiations, but that's a different topic for a different day.
Different day, but that's the point. Like that was corporate America. There's no, we don't have to do things this way.
Right. Right. And productivity wise, I mean, that's what I've done that's what I did for 20 years is look at productivity and where can we improve it? Where can we move work? And where can we do that? You know what? If you are asking your experts and your experts are coming back with, you know what? People working at home, it's the most efficient, it's the most productive. Now, if you are tied to an assembly line, or you are tied to a factory somehow, or Disney World, or one of those places where you absolutely have to be there, well, that's just kind of the way it is. But I'm talking average Joe office worker.
Right.
You don't need to be tied to a place.
No.
We've learned that over the last 18 months. So it will be interesting to see how the Great Resignation goes with all the new non-negotiables. And I think it will be especially interesting for women.
Very, very interesting. Yeah. I think the next 6 months, how this is all going to play out will be something to be seen. And I challenge, your non-negotiables is something as a health coach, I ask clients, all the time, what are some of your non-negotiables? And it's always from a health aspect, but never before has there been that perception of, I have more negotiables than I realized. Like we've sat here all this time thinking these things had to be a certain way. And so I would encourage everybody, whether it be with regards to their physical health, their mental health, whatever it may be, to reevaluate, given what the world looks like now, what are your non-negotiables?
Right. I had a thought and it just flew right out of my head. But those those 6 month, I don't know, it came in, it was brilliant, and it left. Just hate that. But it's 9 o'clock here, and it's been a really, really busy day.
Yes. No, I think that about wraps it up. I would say take some time to reflect back on the last 18 months. And as we are coming around a corner, we're finishing out the summer, school's going to be coming back. Take some time to reevaluate your negotiables and non-negotiables, because my guess is they've likely changed. And if you are working in a field or the organization that is no longer serving what you are needing from your life and no longer serving you, man, might be a good time to reevaluate, because I know there's some organizations that are out there that are very forward thinking, that are reviewing what their culture looks like, what tools they use, how they use it, how their teams look. You've got to be willing to explore. So
Yep.
that's it.
Maybe that means you stay put and you don't move. Accepting a new job elsewhere in this new paradigm may mean that you stay put. Not for me, on the other hand. Oh my God, they're shooting off fireworks here. Lord have mercy. It is what, the 6th? They're still. I live in the South, y'all. There they are. So, on that note, I think that kind of wraps it up for tonight. Because all the dogs are going to start going insane in the neighborhood here shortly. So I am Coach Leanne with Grit and Grace.
And I'm Coach Jen with Take Your Life Back. And I encourage you to reevaluate your non-negotiables. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Take Your Life Back with Grit and Grace.
And also, if you want to contact us, please leave a comment below. We will answer it.
Awesome. All right.